in ChatGPT that my pizzas, he was making pizzas, and the toppings on the pizza, they were not sticking to the pizza. You heard this incident? Anyone? What happened? He asked ChatGPT for a suggestion that how can I make my topping stick on the pizza, and ChatGPT said use dendrite, because that verb stick and topping CSF, it got into ChatGPT's transformer model, and the nearest word it could pick was dendrite. This is not very serious because it's just a pizza. But then there was a week ago, a Gemini user from Google got a threat from Gemini. This one you must have surely heard about. Yes? Anyone? Sir, please, what was the threat, if you can remember it, sir? Yeah, please, sir. Achha. So the threat was that Gemini, just in the middle of a sentence, the question was trivial, the answer was also trivial. But in the middle of that answer, there was a little 3 or 4 sentence sequence which said that you humans are bugs. Why don't you all die? Now, this coming from Gemini, does it scare you? Now, it's already learned this kind of language thanks to the internet. You cannot protect someone. You can't protect your child from the internet forever. You cannot, with Gemini, to bahut dur ki baat hai. So it's learned this kind of language, this kind of emotions. And now, thankfully, machines do not have motivation like we do. Or do they have motivation? What are our motivations? Survive. Our evolutionary motivation is to survive and reproduce, and that's it. But machines, there was this is a hypothetical argument which might soon come true, that if you train an AI model to run a factory on automated mode, that which makes, let's say, safety pins, a safety pin factory which is run by an AI model. The purpose of that model, the way it has been trained, is to maximize the output of what? Output of safety pins. So theoretically, that model won't stop until the entire known universe has been converted to safety pins. So if that is the motivation that we are training our models on, and if we're going to put them in practice, this is the kind of stuff we're looking at. They might, and one argument from this comes because one can always say that I'll just turn it off, right? You can always turn the Gemini is already online. So how many machines can you turn off? Can you really turn it off? Gemini is running across Google's server cluster now. ChatGPT is, thankfully, they claim that it's not yet online. Well, it's not been exposed to current data, but Gemini is. You cannot turn it off. How many computers can you turn it off? You have to stop the world. I mean, the way human civilization works. And second, I think the second last point that I want to make is that if you have ever used one of these models, there's a reason I've never used them, simply because I'm scared. I'm scared because we are on the verge of making a super intelligence, and we don't really know how it would think or even feel about us. When going on a road, do you even bother to look at the bugs or the ants that you're stepping on? You don't, because that level of intelligence is so far beneath us that we don't even consider them intelligence. A super intelligence, which one of these models might very well be, I don't know. They just might, they might be banal about wiping us out. They won't even notice if we are gone. And if one of their motivations is to, produce, like this ChatGPT, produce more words, or in case of Delhi, produce more pictures. They won't stop until the entire resources of the known universe has been consumed to their purpose, their liking. They're not evolutionary organisms. They're not bound by our. We give them a kind of agency when you talk about them. Ki chat GPT ne ye diya, wo diya. They're not that kind of things. Their process of thinking is. We are logical beings. We feel that everything else is logical as well. They might not have logic at all. So plus on a short-term loss, whatever you're typing into ChatGPT is going into its training. So you're just exposing more of your personal life to ChatGPT. I would sincerely request to, think before you type anything. It's one thing to Google search, and completely different to, give your information to a super intelligent organism, which might eventually turn back on you any day. So I would finish off with another story from Isaac Asimov. This is called the Feeling of Power. If anyone has read the story, The Feeling of Power, so it's in the far future where computers and AI have taken over everything. But obviously, the conflicting forces of the world are still there. So they are still fighting. Wars are still going on. So one of America's soldiers, he was in charge of some artillery firing or whatever. So his supervisor noticed him that he was doing something on paper. So he asked this guy, "Ki, what are you doing on paper?" That he said that I am multiplying. He was multiplying two numbers on a sheet of paper. So then the supervisor asked, "What is multiplication?" So now, what is multiplication? Now he had to explain because by that time, with so far advanced stage, nobody had to do trigonometry or multiplications anymore. So he showed him the multiplication. Then the supervisor took him to the next one in hierarchy, and eventually he reached the office of the president of the US. That he's discovered something novel. It could be put to use in war, and this is multiplication on paper by hand. So he's discovered it, and now obviously the entire Security Council is worried about him. If such an asset leaks to the enemy, what might happen? So they first thing they do is put him in jail, in a prison, and then he had several sessions with the psychiatrist. How did you come up with this idea of multiplication? And eventually he dies of depression in jail. And before his suicide note, it shows that I have also discovered division and square roots. So that was the story, The Feeling of Power. The bottom line, human endeavors should stay human. Let's not relegate to machines. We don't know where it's going to lead us. Thank you.
So you'll all agree that we have started off from mathematics, we started off from physics, we started off from with a lot of examples, and we went on to a bit of discussion on music, philosophy, and we have ended up with philosophy. Very well. So any questions now for Parikshit, please, or comments we would love to have before we think. Yes, please.
Those are some really fantastic points that the world is grappling to, and I grapple with when I'm in the loo sometimes. But sir, when you differentiate a human endeavor with a machine, we forget we are in circles because a machine is a human endeavor, sir. Today we are talking about artificial intelligence. We are separating artificial intelligence from general human intelligence. But I don't think that labeling is for better communication, better talking, better debate. But at the end of the time, the lines between AI and human are not there, non-existent. Because AI is a human, very, very human invention. So if you are saying that, inventing a hammer is wrong, using a hammer is wrong, I'm saying that keep it in the right person's place. The intent behind the hammer is what matters, sir. So when we are careful with what we are able to do with AI, I think, we ourselves will be super intelligent people rather than making AI super intelligent. And also there's the question of consciousness, sir. Because when you talk about super intelligence, we're also talking about consciousness, because with super intelligence is an evolution, this thing of evolution, sir. A machine cannot evolve just like you said. So when a machine cannot evolve, how can it be a super intelligent being? And how can we make a machine more intelligent than like humans are?
Fair enough. We got your point.
Yeah.
Anyone else before we ask him to respond? So Parikshit, would you like to? Yeah, please. I didn't see you. Yeah, please go ahead.
And I just I want to elaborate on what he said, because I think the confusion is because we are confusing between intelligence and consciousness. We must understand that intelligence is just one aspect of human being. And as you started with ragas, and you were trying to just emphasize this point, that raga is not a note ultimately. It is the feeling it produces. Because why do we ultimately listen to a music? Because it is because of the feeling, the kind of upliftment that you feel, the joy that you feel. And at the end of the day, the goal of human life is not just to be an intelligent human machine. That way we are just, denigrating ourselves to just a machine itself. Rather, it is, as my friend was saying here, that the consciousness is evolving and no machine can be conscious at the end of the day. So ultimately, if we are saying that a human reality, whatever, in the larger sense, these tools will remain tools only. And at the same time, we can use them to our advantage. But let us not see them in a way where, because unless they are conscious, they can never have any power over a human reality. And provided, we use them judiciously. So that is the point which I wanted to make. But otherwise, if you see the human brain also, because people, I think in the modern medicine, we don't talk about this. Now, this is a fundamental question in Harvard these days. What is the hard problem of consciousness? Because we are still believing in neuroscience that somehow the chemical processes in the brain are producing consciousness. But that is not the truth. It is actually consciousness fundamental, and human brain is only processing that consciousness to come to a conclusion. So these AI tools are nothing but just mathematical tools which are helping us to process the data. But at the end of the day, they are not conscious.
Same, sir. I somehow tend to agree with his points. Why can AI not take over humans, or maybe not take over doctors, is because medicine is a biological science. You have a disease, you have a symptom, you have a treatment. But being a doctor is a social skill. It is not just knowing medicine.
Yeah, well said.
So when a doctor smiles at a patient, the patient feels better. When a doctor understands the patient feels better. AI cannot do that, sir. So I somehow don't.
Fair enough. Let's give him an opportunity to do a rebuttal.
I think there's one on the same theme.
So please jawab do.
Okay, so what I noticed from sir's statement was that you mentioned that unless something is conscious, it cannot take over human civilization. Is that what you wanted to say, sir?
I think we'll have one more comment on consciousness. Then we'll get back to medical education.
Then what about plastic? Plastic is not conscious, it's taken over us.
I'm just saying, sir, that human beings are different with the machine in two ways. One is that we have a feeling quotient, which a machine doesn't have, and we all are conscious, which a machine is not. So in these two realms, we have an edge over any machine whatsoever will be built in future, or whatever is available these days.
So these are very, I'm not qualified enough to discuss these things, but anyone who's interested in this problem, I would like to go through one published paper. It's on the Journal of, I think, Journal of Applied Philosophy. It's about something called sentient oil. The oil that petrol and diesel that we get. So there's this hypothesis that oil might be a sentient creature that wants to come up from the depths of the earth and take over the world.